Hey guys, and welcome to the e-commerce leader series, the podcast dedicated to helping founders and senior leaders navigate the future of online retail with AI. I'm your host, Bryan Kinghorn, head of growth at Luca AI. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Monica Williams, who is the co-founder and CEO of Scarlet by RedDrop, a company on a mission to improve women's intimate wellness through science-backed products and education. So Monica, thank you so much for joining us. Before we dive into our main topics of conversation, would you mind just telling our listeners a little bit more about your background and a bit more about Scarlet by RedDrop as well?
Sure. My name is Monica. I am one of the co-founders. There are three of us, and I'm the CEO. This is my third physical product startup. This one was actually started because of Dana, who's one of our co-founders, observation. So she's a lifelong educator and was teaching a class of fifth grade girls at the time that she kind of came up with this. At that time, her oldest daughter was also in fifth grade. She wasn't in her class, but she was that age. And she's witnessed half of her class start their period in that year with her. Some went through without a blip, but one girl in particular went into the bathroom and thought she was dying because she didn't know what a period was. So she created something called the First Purse. It was honestly kind of an homage, or this is an homage to it, our Code Red kit, but it was a little makeup bag. She put pads, tampons, wipes, underwear, to-go bags, everything they needed in one little kit. And they created a hand sign, so if they didn't feel comfortable saying something, they could communicate. And she noticed that all the girls in that class started to really feel better. So at the time I was working on a pacifier, and she came, it was the stage of the business where I was packing orders out of my house, and she's my god sister. And she came over to help me pack orders one weekend and was just so excited about this idea. I didn't get it because my oldest daughter, only daughter at the time, was an infant. And sadly, even though I am a physician, I could not conceptualize this little human becoming old enough to have a period. So I really didn't get it. But fast forward 10 years and she started to develop and grow. And I was like, hey, let's talk about this, because the thing I was experiencing at that time was my child was small and the products that were on the shelf weren't really made for her. So we connected, and from there, RedDrop and now Scarlet was born.
Awesome. And when, I suppose, when did you say you started the business?
2019 is when we started this business.
2019. Cool. So you're 7 years in now. I suppose when did you identify that there was more than just a product opportunity here? I'm assuming that you're genuinely helping people solve a massive problem. So was that immediate? Did it take some time for that to kick in? Like, talk about that for a moment.
So I would say it was immediate for Dana, because she was a teacher and she really saw the transformational aspect that came with the education and the understanding and the experience. For me, my real wheelhouse is supply chain fulfillment and distribution. I'm a product girl. So the product to me was, and honestly, I'm still super focused on the product. So it took me a longer journey to get to where we are now. And where we are now is we have educational series, we have a book, we've partnered with other writers. We're working on some other really intentional and interesting partnerships in the space, because where we really stand now is at the corner of health, education, access, identity, and culture. And so it's really a transformational period in a person's life, and we want to be, at the core of it.
Okay, nice. And I suppose there's a trust is a big thing in your category, in your business. So how have you over the years gone about ensuring that you've built that trust with your audience?
It's interesting, Brian, because we literally just launched into Walmart in the last three or 4 weeks. And so initially, for sure, there's been a transformation. So initially it was less about trust than it was about product fit and product size. And then it probably took a year to 2 years to get to where trust and authority was really important. And so I guess for us, that was lucky because, when you're first building, you don't have any reviews, you don't have any press, you don't have anything that says that you're real. But we had pictures that showed a young person with, an always pad and our pad. And it's like, okay, which one fits? So it got to trust and authority, I'd say like a couple years into the business. And then people really want to know, what is this made of? How is it made? Where is it made? How is it tested? And some of that also came with like the PFAS and like that kind of revolution that's happened. If I'm being honest right now, Bryan, like maybe because we have the validity of being on Ulta and Walmart shelves, now it's about price. And so for us, our company has grown through, at this point, 3 different evolutions of what people are really interested in for us, I think.
Okay. And what have been those 3 evolutions then?
The first was really product. It was about product size and fit and preparation. Second was trust and authority. Third has been where we fit in the marketplace for price, like how, because we are consumable, we are just a CPG, how affordable is this thing that now I want to provide a better experience? Is it affordable?
Yeah. Okay. And just talk to where the business is today. You've mentioned Walmart, you've got an e-com side of the business as well. So how does that business look across all the different channels that you're in? Are you mainly e-com? Are you mainly retail? Like how does that look?
We just, like I mentioned, just launched into Walmart. So e-com is still the largest portion of our business. Our second largest portion of business is actually schools. And that's been a really big opportunity for us. And then it's retail. And so in those subcategories, like in D2C, I consider Amazon part of D2C. As a part of schools, we have a distributor. So that's part of schools. Retail, we have 2 outlets. So there are some independent channels inside of that are interesting. Like schools, I'd also consider camps and cheerleading, and like there's several kind of subsets in all of those spaces that are B2B, but that's how we shake out.
Okay, cool. So I suppose because you're doing obviously because of the education piece and you're talking about schools and camps within that, and I'd imagine your business's marketing mix is slightly different from a traditional e-commerce business. So, are you still doing things like traditional traditional e-com, paid ads on Google and social media and things like that? Like, how does that sort of split look between those marketing methods and the education?
So for us, I mean, we still primarily only market on social, because whether I'm a buyer, like our Ulta buyer is on Facebook, is on IG, is on not Twitter. What's the other thing? TikTok. I'm on no social media, so I'm not good at that. But all the buyers are on social media. So where they get exposure, whether it's by virtue of us marketing to you as a customer, or just like I am on LinkedIn. And so a lot of the people see us on LinkedIn. So social is our primary marketing channel. For schools, it is a little different. For retail, if I'm being honest, we're still figuring it out, but we're definitely 10 toes down with social media marketing.
Yeah, cool. Nice. And so I suppose then as Scarlet has grown over the years, what has surprised you most about the consumer behavior, and how has that changed over the years as well?
I mean, since we've been at this so long, and we were really the first brand to market to tweens and first period girls. We have quite a bit of competition, but when we first started, our customers were very, early adoption is not even the best way to describe it. They were super patient. I mean, we're a bootstrap startup, so we would run out of inventory. Some of our customers, it would take 3 months to get the products because we'd run out. We'd have to go get it. We'd already shipped because our inventory system was crap, and so we didn't know we'd run out until it was like, oh shoot, we don't have enough stuff, and like we have their money and we really need their money. So fingers crossed that they don't ask for a refund. And they literally, Bryan, early on, it would be 3 months, like, hey, I think I ordered this thing. because they were just so interested in trying something new and doing the right thing for their daughter. Now we're part of the Wild West. So like if a customer doesn't get something, if they don't get a shipping notice in 24 hours, they're like, refund my money. You know, we have gone from early adopters to like real mainstream CPG buyers that have Amazon experience and ready to pay Walmart prices. It's been a complete 180-degree shift.
Yeah, nice. No, I can imagine. It's I also have an e-com brand as well, separate to the work that I do with Luca. And you're right. I think customers' expectations are just evolving all the time, and they're getting more and more, which is fair. Like they've bought something, they expect it to be shipped immediately. But yeah, it is always a challenge to keep up with the demand and stock levels and things like that as well. So no, I totally get it. So I suppose now moving on more to things like data, decision making. As the CEO and co-founder of the business, you're making decisions all the time, across obviously the various aspects of the business that you've spoken about already: product, marketing, inventory, growth, all the above, and many others. So what are what are you paying attention to most in your data? Like, what are the either daily or weekly or monthly biggest data points that you're looking at, mainly?
For us, inventory is a real challenge right now because the inventory goes out in so many different directions, and especially with the B2B business, with retail, it's really unpredictable right now. With B2B, it's also unpredictable. D2C is, I'd say, much more predictable and repeatable, and that's nice. But like the death knell for our business is running out of product. And so having to make decisions around, can we fulfill this order? Like, we get a big order from X school district, but because the nurse or whoever is the buyer, the custodian, saw this thing on Facebook, they want this product. It's not even something that we forecast for schools. Do I have that product? And if I send it to them, how am I affecting all of these other channels? Like I need the money, but how do I make those kinds of decisions? That is by far one of the most difficult decisions to make right now. And then of course, secondary, not far behind that, is cash flow, because we're a physical product business and because all of our products are made in China and we work with 10 different manufacturers, our lead time is pretty long, and our minimum order quantities are pretty high. And so it's like, how do I balance the demand with the cash that I have available to renew and replenish this product?
So how are you managing? Are you taking on any sort of finance tools or anything like that to help manage that? Big purchases, minimum orders you need to do, or are you purely taking out a profit, or how are you dealing with that?
It's so funny you say that. So, I mean, by light of your program. So we had a person that we brought on, and we actually brought this person on originally to help manage one of the retail relationships, because if I'm being honest, when we first launched into our first retailer, it was an absolute disaster. It was a mess for a lot of reasons that we don't have to get into here. But the retailer was like, hey, you need to hire someone to manage this relationship. So we hired this person. And if I'm being honest, she wasn't good at that at all. But what she really was good at was like inventory analysis. And so we started to rely on her quite a bit, because I was the person, like supply chain fulfillment, I should be the person to do this. I was not trained. I'm a physician. So what I knew, I've learned over all these years, but like the way we were accelerating and the channels and the way, like the growth with this company was not something I didn't have the experience to do. She did. And then she had some issues and got really flaky. And so if I'm being completely honest, AI is starting to step in. And so the nice thing about that person was they built some rudimentary spreadsheets that had helped us look at data from a more holistic standpoint. And what I'm learning about our agent is we can, put that in as a starting point. We have all the data points, because that's like, we've always had the data points. It's how do we communicate this to our CFO when we need money going out? How do we communicate to our marketing people? This is how much inventory we have And how do you communicate to the B2B person? If you sell this and you affect these other channels this way, AI has helped to really integrate that, or is helping. We're not there yet, but I have a vision that AI will help us integrate all of that in a way that can help us make far better and more data-driven decisions.
Yeah, cool. Well, you've very nicely took me on to that the AI topic a bit more. So, my question was going to be around, how are you utilizing AI to make some critical decisions within your business? So you've obviously clearly, spoke about one already. Is there any other aspects of the business that you either are already using AI tools to help you make some of these decisions, or is there other areas of the business that you would like AI to be able to help you run your business better?
I do think that as we get more comfortable with our agent, I do think that the finance will be another place we can really lean in, because working capital it's something that shifts day to day. We make money every day and we spend money every day, and so it's when it's manually done, it's easy to lose track of like that insurance payment, or like all these kind of little things that like it's only a few $100s, but it adds up at the end of the day, and make better, more data-driven decisions on our working capital and the decisions we should make going forward. Obviously, operations. And so like we had a huge mistake this week at the warehouse. Our warehouse is 100% manual right now. I think getting that to more, and we have our own warehouse. We don't 3PL at this point. And so getting that stabilized with maybe some more automations and more information, I think will also be places where you could lean in and would be great for the business.
Yeah, nice. And in regards to like the front end of the business, so how Scarlet shows up, to the outside world, whether that's on social, whether it's on education, wherever that is, are you using any AI tools to help shape some of that marketing activity?
It's funny. So yes, we do for sure. On the creative side, we still do photo shoots. We still hire real models. But I know very little about AI, but I see, like I'm in the marketing meetings and I see the AI creative that comes out of that. So like we'll do a photo shoot and we'll get, this reel of photos, and then you can load those in and say, okay, make variations. Yeah. And what it's able to make is just spectacular. So we can take, $1,000, $1,500 photo shoot, which is, very reasonable, and turn that into a $10,000, the creative for a $10,000 campaign. And that's absolutely fantastic. But on top of that, the content side. So like, it's our agent is learning our voice, they're learning our avatars. And so it can really now help us weave better storytelling and better hooks, and even, it hasn't done it yet, but I'm hopeful it can help us see other audiences. It could really be big unlocks for us too. And we're not there yet, but I think it's coming.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely coming. And I think obviously, AI is a big conversation piece right now. You hear about it all the time. Obviously, we're in it every single day of the week. And it is starting to reshape how e-commerce businesses operate. In regards to like the team, you mentioned you've got some full-time people, and I'm sure you've got some like freelance and fractional as well. How open or reluctant are they about AI in your opinion so far? Like, are they, where do you think they sit in regards to their adoption of AI within the business?
It's funny. So the person I thought would be the fastest adopter, our CFO, has been our slowest adopter. And ultimately, I think that's where we'll get the most time back, because he, at this point, still does, because we're bootstrapped and because we have, it's unbelievable how much financial complexity we have. He still has a day-by-day cash flow sheet that he updates and looks at and makes decisions on. And I know that it could be done so much, it could be so streamlined. Like all of our billing could go to a specific AI email that everything goes in. It can analyze it, put it in the chart, make the, okay, if you don't have this today, then these are the things that are going to be affected, but these are things that have late fee, like all of the things that would take a human being so long to really evaluate, it can do. And so he's been the slowest adopter, but I think it's ironically, just before this meeting, he was in our agent and built an Excel. And so I think now, because he's also he's the youngest member of the team, I think he will probably be the person that really starts to pick it up and put it down the fastest. Yeah, but everyone else has certainly, at least from a Chat GPT perspective, like dove headfirst.
No, it's interesting actually. I had this similar conversation with another founder recently, where the automatic thought process would naturally lead you to think that it's the younger people that are quicker to adopt AI, but they had a similar situation where the sort of more mature heads, let's put it that way, were actually using it and adopting it a lot quicker than the younger generation. So it's a weird sort of situation that we're in where that's happening, and you've just sort of cemented that as well. So it's super interesting that we're hearing that from more and more people now as well. So yeah, I suppose it comes on to like that. The thing that's coming through my head was like on customer retention and things like that as well. Like I'd imagine for you that's super important as an e-com brand. Like how are, what are, obviously it's hard to acquire a customer in e-com, we know that, but retaining them can be difficult as well. Like how does loyalty work in your category?
A couple of ways. So we do have a subscription program, and we just retooled that. So the Scarlet brand came about, it hasn't been a year. We launched in August last year when we launched into Ulta. So the first probably half of the year was getting, because we've been RedDrop before that 5 years. And so it was like, how do we get enough pieces of content? How do we go back? Because we had ads that had been running for 6 years. And honestly, just, how e-com works, by virtue of the time, the oldest ads were working the best because they had the most engagement. They had the most comments, and that had the oldest branding. So how do we, we really need to turn that off, because the branding was old, the pricing was old, everything about that was just something we don't do anymore. So the first 6 months, we're really trying to get Scarlet stood up properly. Then now where we are is we just relaunched our subscription service, and we're trying to make it more engaging, really solve other than like getting pads every month, which seems obvious. Like, how do we make this really solve a problem specifically for school age girls and their parents or their caregivers? So that's something we're working on actively right now. And then the second way is just replenishment, because there are plenty, like I guess I am now on more subscriptions, but I'm not technically a subscription person. I just don't like to be tied because I forget. And then, 6 months later, I've spent $9.99 on something that I don't even know I'm spending my money on. So there are a lot of people like me. And so then the second way is we make a really good product that makes you want to come back. And then we have, I'd say, an outstanding email team that stays on top of, a cohort of customers and when we should go back to them again. So like back to school for us is a really big time of year. We gain X number of new customers during this period of time because we offer a great product at the price is outstanding. Then, how do we make that cohort of customers make sense? Because we've acquired them in a way that it doesn't cost us money, but it's definitely the least profitable way for us to acquire them. But now we need to figure out how to make the money off of them. And that is really important too.
Yeah. Nice. And I suppose, so then looking ahead a bit now then, and I know it's difficult to it's difficult to look too far ahead in the current age of technology that we're in, but I'm going to ask anyway, where do you see Scarlet being within the next 3 to 5 years, like from a business perspective, first of all, and then, how do you see AI continue to play a part in that business evolve?
I call us the puberty brand for school age girls, like really becoming the owner of that space. I feel like we created it and it's ours to own. And to do that means that we have a pretty good span of products. We have tampons, menstrual cups, period underwear, period swimwear. We're launching a couple of new products this back to school season that I think helps cement that. I think there's a space in a technology a technology space that we could expand into and really own. And I think that there's a true educational space that we're starting some partnerships that I think will be really, really transformational. So ultimately our goal, we want to be acquired, if I'm being completely transparent. And I think to be that company, we have to obviously be doing well on the top line, but we need to really own the brand that makes it difficult for a P&G just to say, oh, we can just make smaller pads. No, it's like all of the things that have made the brand sticky are the things that we're building.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. And before we start wrapping up, I'm just going to get some sort of more quick fire questions put your way. So what is one metric in e-commerce that everyone should understand more or pay more attention to, in your opinion?
Your new customer cost of acquisition.
Okay, cool. One piece of startup advice that you would disagree with, like a bit of advice that somebody gave you when you're starting up that you disagree with.
Raising money isn't that hard.
Somebody said raising money isn't that hard. Yeah. It is hard. Somebody told me the other day that raising money is actually the hardest thing you'll do for your business.
It's impossible.
So that's two very different viewpoints. But what on that same token, money related, what's the most expensive mistake you've made as a founder?
Oh God. Inventory mistakes. It's not being on top of my numbers and either running out of stock or like, especially with a big, like a B2B order, selling a big order and then completely depleting my D2C inventory. Like, this inventory is an expensive mistake to make in any direction.
Yeah. Okay. And this can be in your space or out with your space, but what's one trend in consumer health that you're paying attention to? Well, as I say, this could be completely out with your sort of space or in your space.
I think the supplement space, like, this is not new information. I think it's really interesting. And I think it's interesting how these brands are building their business. Because ultimately vitamins are nothing new. Like, they've been around since the 1800s, but the way that they're marketing and building their business and, you know, hiring the people that work there, like the growth that's being seen in supplements right now is truly, it's like AI or SaaS. It's pretty crazy. And it's a product business. And so I think there's something that we can all learn from, like, how these builders are building.
Nice one. And then finally, if you could give your younger founder self, so when if thinking back to when you were founding either this business or your first businesses, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself?
This is the wet work. Like people aren't nice. You know, you've got to buck up. You've got to stand up for yourself. I was definitely a much weaker, isn't really the best word, but it's how I really think about it. I was a weaker person, and there are certainly ways and things I backed down on that, you know, this 53-year-old me wouldn't do. And that's just been, 20 years of doing this kind of work. It's done.
You've now got all the battle scars that have made you stronger. Yeah. No, I get it. Well, thanks very much, Monica. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. Before we finish up, where's the best place for our listeners to find you personally or the business?
All right. I'm glad that you asked. So me personally, I'm only on LinkedIn, and that's I'm ATL Monica. For us on all social media channels, it's Scarlet by RedDrop. So SCARLET BYREDDROP. And that's on Threads, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere else.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, Monica. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. And yeah, thanks very much. And listeners, will see you next time.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Bryan. I really appreciate this conversation, and I'm happy to have it. Thank you.